Hey guys, how's it going? Eli here, back with another video where today we're going to be having a conversation on whether special holiday elite trainer boxes perform better than the general standard elite trainer box sets. Without further ado, let's just jump right into it. So happy Monday everyone. Want to make a quick announcement. Obviously, for those who don't know, we do our weekly giveaways each and every Monday for each and every week. For those people that entered into our last weekly giveaway and won, if you have not received your packs, I do apologize. There's going to be a little bit of delays. I've been really, like I said, recovering from being sick. So as far as it goes, I haven't had the time to ship out the packs. I assure you, you should receive them sometime later this week. So please, I hope you understand and be patient because there's just going to be a little bit of delays. I apologize for that, of course, but nonetheless, don't worry. You will, of course, be receiving your packs. And so same thing goes for the people that are about to be announced as far as it goes for the winners. You will be receiving all three of you guys. Each of you guys will get 6 Fusion Strike booster packs. And of course, all you had to do to enter was leave a like, comment down below on any one of the 3 videos I post Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and then be subscribed to the YouTube channel. So it's pretty easy. We had one guy who actually won back-to-back last week because I only have about like 20 to 30 people that comment each video. So your odds are pretty high, especially if you comment each week. And actually this week we have another person who's won for the second time as well. So congratulations to these 3, and now I will reveal the winners. So as far as it goes, the winners are Jet City Boy 15, Dolfo, and then Gage. Once again, congratulations, Gage, man. You've been getting real lucky recently, my guy. Congratulations. Absolutely hitting it out of the park. Of course, I'll be trying to hopefully get all these packs out to you guys sometime by the end of the week. Obviously, if you guys want to kind of send me a screenshot showing proof that, of course, you are who you say you are. One of the things that a lot of people have kind of been doing is they go to their sign-in screen on YouTube, and it shows their kind of icon bubble of them logging in. Just take a screenshot of that. It's the easiest, so I can verify. And then, of course, just send me over your address information. I'll get everything shipped out to you. But now that we got that out of the way, sorry again for my voice. Still recovering from, COVID, so my voice still sounds kind of crappy. But I'm sounding better. I can actually speak, so that's progress. So this is actually going to be a really fun topic, in my personal opinion, to discuss. So about 3 or 4 videos ago, we did a video talking about what are the kind of best investments for overall modern Pokemon. And one of the things, if you haven't gone and seen that video, highly recommend it. It's one of my more viewed videos. One of the big things that we kind of saw was that from an overall percentage gain perspective, the overall most collectible and most highest rate of return item were elite trainer boxes. We kind of talked a little bit about the overall percentages between elite trainer boxes, booster boxes, and of course the build and battles. But one thing we didn't have a conversation about was, of course, a little bit more in-depth talking about elite trainer boxes and if the overall special holiday sets perform better than the regulars. And I think that's something that's actually very important to kind of take a look at. And I think the reason why I specifically want to say that, and here's something we're gonna pull up first and foremost. So we're going to take a look and see, okay, if we just say to ourselves, what are these special, holiday set, elite trainer boxes? And of course, there's more than just elite trainer boxes. There's ultra premium boxes. There's, paying collections and so on, and we'll do a breakdown of that at some point. But as far as it goes right now, we're going to be just focusing on elite trainer boxes because you know how I like to break things down. I can really span out a video. So just taking a look and understanding what are these special sets, or more specifically, like I said, holiday sets. We've got Dragon Vault, Callan Starters, Double Crisis, but before these ones, they did not have, leading up into these ones did not have elite trainer boxes. So we're going to really look at Generations, Shining Legend, Dragon Majesty, Hidden Fates, Champions Pass, Shining Fate Celebration. And for those people that don't know, basically they come out with about 1 to 2 each and every year. Obviously, they came out with 2 in 2018, but as far as it goes, it was the back end of 2018. So Hidden Fates was more or less for the, 2019, which is why they had multiple reprints of it. So the ones that we're going to be focusing on the most, I will say, though, are going to be Generations, Celebrations, and then Hidden Fates. Of course, we'll take a look at the other ones, but these are going to be the ones we're going to kind of break down the most. So, of course, for those people who don't know the history of Elite Trainer boxes, they were first introduced back in the black and white era. Specifically with like the Plasma Blast set. Of course, if it does go back farther, you can correct me, but if I'm correct, that is the first one that ever originated. It has like a Genesect on the front of it. Plasma Blast set was a set that was released, as we can see right here. It was the 57th set of Pokemon that was released back in March 15th, 2013. So Elite Trainer boxes are something which, you know, in my personal opinion, are still relatively new. You know, obviously you can say, wow, that's 8 years, like that's a long time. But considering the fact of the matter that Pokemon's now, 25 years old, 8 years is not that, it's not that long in the grand scheme of things. Obviously, a lot has kind of changed, especially when the way in which people collect these. And so this is something that's going to be really interesting to break down. So here's going to be the first kind of topic and point of discussion. Is one, we're going to take a look at some of the value of the older boxes and say to ourselves, why is it that we think these are valued at such higher prices compared to some of the other ones? And why are certain ones that are more modern valued higher than and some of the older ones as well. So hopefully that doesn't sound super confusing, but I'm going to show you guys just so you guys can kind of take a look and understand what I mean by that. So first thing we're going to take a look at is we're going to take a look at the Pokemon Ancient Origins Elite Trainer box, right? So we're going to say to ourselves, okay, this Elite Trainer box is selling for around $500. That's what we're going to say. $473 most recent sale. We've got $550, $450. This one, as you can see, it's interesting because the value of these actually have, absolutely plummeted recently. You had like kind of one-off sale of $530, and then you had a couple of higher end sales. But as far as it goes, and these are not like bad looking condition ones, and these are in solid condition. Obviously, condition is going to play a factor, but we're going to say around 500 is kind of the overall base for the price, right? This is a set that, of course, came out in 2015, if I'm correct. We can take a look at that. I apologize once again for my voice, but yeah, Primal Clash was a set, or Ancient Origins was a set that came out in June 2015, right? So keep that date in mind. Now we're going to take a look at another set. The set that is the Generation set, and this set came out in 2016 February, so shortly after, right? Once again, keeping in mind booster box price around $500. We go to Generations. We're gonna go take a look at TCG Player, and we see that the last price sold, of course, granted it's been a while, was $1113. It sold for $734. Now, of course, if we want to take a look, we can then go and say to ourselves, okay, Generations Elite Trainer box, and we can see some of the most recent sales. Recent sale sold for around $600, $700. We're gonna ignore this one because this is probably a resale, one-off. 700, 800, 700, or actually that's 800, 600. So the price range for this is going anywhere between 600 to 800. We'll say 700 to be safe. So with that being said, this set in and of itself came about 6 months after the fact, and Ancient Origins 6 months newer. Of course, this being a special collection set, and then of course Ancient Origins being part of the standard set. So one of the things now, just kind of taking a look and comparing and seeing yourselves, you're looking at two sets very similar, one special, one not, and there's a $100 price gap, right? So the first question you got to ask yourself, why do you think that is? Of course, you can make an argument saying that, there's going to be a lot heavier of a print when it comes to the standard sets versus the special sets, but it's actually the inverse in my personal opinion. We've seen this a lot with Celebrations. We've seen this a lot with Hidden Fates. We've seen this a lot with Shining Fates. Specifically, a lot of these prices get absolutely, just crushed into the ground. You see very high print rates, specifically because they don't have those booster boxes that they're going to basically get a lot of the product for the set. Not to mention they're typically more collectible sets. And so you're going to see them printed in the ground. And that's something too that we're going to take a look at and see that is indicative of the overall kind of cards that you can collect in the Generations Pokemon set. So if we just take a look at overall the Generation set from the individual cards, we can see that the most expensive card is this Charizard you can get for about $60. And then once you kind of go below that, a lot of these cards, $18, $18, 14, 15, 14. These cards, for a 2016 set, they're not that expensive, all things considered, right? You have one kind of big hitter card that's around $60, and everything other than that is around below 20. Not to mention, in and of itself, it's not a very big set to begin with, so it's actually pretty affordable to collect the set. Then we go into something like Ancient Origins, for example. we take a look and see what the overall Ancient Origins cards are. We go cards, and then we say, okay, you've got a Mega Full Art Charizard going for around $100, Groudon going for around 70, Lugia 60, 47. I mean, just basically going off the fact of the matter that we notice that a lot of these card prices are worth more. So what does this kind of tell us? It shows us that just because a set's Elite Trainer box is valued more than the overall other set doesn't mean that therefore the cards within that set are going to be valued more, because obviously this is showing us that from an overall, you know, dollar cost perspective, when buying, you know, Ancient Origins and buying a Celebrations, or not Celebrations, sorry, a Generations, obviously not financial advice, but hypothetically speaking, if you were to open up both of them, you would obviously have a higher chance of making your money back if you got these bigger pulls, because you're spending less on these Elite Trainer boxes and you have, you know, higher pull cost cards. So that is something that's very fascinating to take a look at, and I think it's very important because a lot of people take a look at sets like Celebrations, for example, and they say to themselves, Celebrations is a set that's not going to return over time. It's been printed in the ground. It's one of these sets that, you know, a lot of the cards are just absolute garbage in regards to their value. Obviously, of course, you know, it's up for interpretation on, or I should say debate, not interpretation, on whether or not you like the cards themselves and the way they're designed. But regardless, there's been a huge drop off in overall value of Celebrations cards, and we can kind of take a look at that as well and see some of the Celebrations cards. If we just go to the individual cards from the just main set, and let's actually go Celebrations. We're gonna go Classic Collection first, right? Take a look at Classic Collection. Charizard is now at around $80. I remember when it first came out going for around 300. Umbreon Star was going for around 350. Shiny Magikarp was going for around 150. I mean, guys, these cards have absolutely plummeted. And it makes total sense because this is a set that was heavily printed. It was expected that it was going to be heavily printed because it is the 25th anniversary set. That's a big deal. And then on top of the fact of the matter, it was a special way in which they came out with the set in regards to what you can kind of pull from it. And so they did this on purpose so that a lot of people would be able to enjoy having the artwork of the cards. So that's something that is, of course, very important when taking a look at things. One thing I will say, and of course you can correct me if I'm wrong, but if I'm correct, one thing that the overall Generations did something that was special is they came out with the Generations Radiant Collection subset. So for those people that aren't familiar, they had kind of like, you know how like obviously Cosmic Eclipse, you had like kind of the trainer cards in the reverse holo slot, and of course in Hidden Fates you have the shinies in the reverse holo slot. Well, Generations had the Radiant Collection set, and there's two different ones. There's Generations Radiant Collection and there's Legendary Treasure. So that's something that's very important for you guys to understand when differentiating the two. Taking a look, seeing the reverse holo slot, we can once again see highest valued card is around $28. Of course, if I'm correct, odds are you're going to have a pretty high chance of pulling these. So you can actually retain a good amount of value if you do happen to pull one of these big hitters. Although, you know, odds, of course, are not super high, but odds of pulling just an overall, you know, Radiant Collection card in general are basically guaranteed if I'm correct. Just not, of course, one of these, you know, big hitters, and big hitters being like a $30 card. So that is something that is also important to kind of take into consideration when looking at the overall set of Generations. So kind of going back and just breaking it down, because we still have so much more to talk about in this video. One, understanding the fact of the matter that just because the cards in the set are less doesn't mean that's going to correlate to the Elite Trainer box value. Two, taking a look at the fact of the matter that the Generation set has performed better, even though it is a newer set compared to Primal Clash. Or sorry, I keep saying Primal Clash. I always mix it up. Ancient Origins, and it's done so by around, you know, $200, give or take. And then third, kind of understanding the fact of the matter that the reason behind this, in my personal opinion, is just based off the fact that there is that kind of collectible aspect to it, regardless of the amount that was printed. Now, of course, you want to say to yourself, well, Generations in and of itself is an older set. It didn't get as much of a print run. Well, this is where we're going to transition into Hidden Fates. So, taking a look at the overall Hidden Fates Elite Trainer boxes. So if we go back, sorry about about that. If we go back to Elite Trainer boxes, we can go down and we can see it ourselves. Looking at Elite Trainer box Hidden Fates value, they're going for about 163. And you say to yourself, wow, Eli, like 163, you've got sets such as Darkness Ablaze and, you know, Burning Shadows that are, you know, pretty much around the same price. More specifically, Darkness Ablaze, it's not that far off. So why would it be something like Hidden Fates that's, you know, super duper popular? Why would it be so low? Well, for those people that don't know, and I feel like for you guys that have been following me and have been in the hobby long enough, they have had many reprints of overall Hidden Fates Elite Trainer boxes. And so this is where our next point of contention is going to be kind of talking about overall prints. And this is once again going back to the Generations box. Even though Generations was a popular set that was printed decently, it still performed better because it was a popular set over time. And here's something also to take into consideration. Like I mentioned before at the very beginning of the video, these are items that are still very new. 2013 was the first one with Plasma Blast. When it first came out, it was a very unpopular item to overall collect. Now taking a look at it, Plasma Blast, this is the crispiest one that I kind of saw. You can take a look and say, oh, well, here's a $1,200 one, but I want to really go off of this $1,700 one. You can make an argument $1,500. Because I've seen it sold for that price on other website forums that are kind of for offline traders. So we'll say $1,500 for Plasma Blast. This was, of course, at the time 2013. This is the oldest, if not one of the oldest Elite Trainer boxes, and so for that reason, it holds a lot of value. It even has more value to the fact of the matter that the overall Plasma Blast booster box is selling for around $1,200 to $1,300. So that really should go to the fact of the matter that the overall scarcity of these Elite Trainer boxes is going to have an overall effect of value. And this is something, of course, this is just a common concept we've really talked about. Talk about supply, we talk about demand, we talk about inflationary value as far as, and then comparing that to scarcity. Of course, when I say inflationary value, I mean just, you know, the cards keep getting printed, the sealed product keeps getting printed, and so for that reason, value, of course, will go down as more population or supply is put out into the market. So Hidden Fates at its peak, please take this into consideration. The set came out at the end of 2018. Back in 2019, before we had its most recent reprint at the start of 2020, at its peak, it was going for around $400 for a set that was literally a year old, right? And so you're saying to yourself, for a set like this that is as popular as this, and it was a year old and it was selling for around $400, I dare you to find a set that was selling for that much within a year after its initial release. Now, of course, you know, we're going to take a look and say to ourselves, okay, well then does that mean Hidden Fates right now, $153? Does that mean that it's undervalued? Does that mean that it's overvalued? Well, here's my personal argument. I think in the current state market, I think that it is valued properly. And the reason why I say that is because obviously we've seen a decrease in demand, we've seen a downtrend in the overall market of prices. And so I think in the current, you know, shape of the overall market and things, I think that even though Hidden Fates is something that is very popular of a set, there has been a lot of supply that's really been put on the market, and so for that reason I think it is appropriate. However, do I think that it is possible that long-term Hidden Fates, a set that is currently going for $153, could outperform sets that, you know, were printed around the same time, whether that, you know, be Darkness Ablaze around a year later or a couple months after its initial reprint, whether that be sets such as Team Up or Unbroken Bonds or Shining Fates that came around in the same era. Of course, Shining Legends. There's so many names that are so similar. I'm sorry if I keep mixing it up. Of course, Shining Legends had multiple reprints as well. So that's something to take into consideration. But as far as it goes, the majority of the Sun and Moon booster boxes are going for more than the overall price of the Elite Trainer box for Hidden Fates. However, if you take into the consideration that none of these Elite Trainer boxes have had, you know, other than their initial waves, reprints, you would actually be, I think it would be fair to say that the value, if it had never been reprinted for Hidden Fates, would actually be outpacing these cards. So I think, or Elite Trainer boxes, so I think in my personal opinion, just basing off of this, do I think that one of the downsides of these overall special collection sets is they're more prone to be reprinted. However, one of the potential benefits is, in my personal opinion, in the long run, I think they will perform better. Of course, like I said before, short term, these sets are performing really well, considering the fact that these sets still came out within literally 2019, 2018, so on and so forth. We can take a look and see the actual time frames in which they came out. Unified Minds 2019, Cosmic Eclipse 2019, Unbroken Bonds 2019. I mean, these are all 2019 sets. And so the fact of the matter that they're going all for around $300 really once again shows you that these sets were very underprinted. These sets are very popular Sun and Moon era sets. People really like the tag team concept, on top of the fact that the cards in and of themselves are just very strong cards. They're very collectible cards. And so with that being said, they performed really well. They had low reprints. But once again, in my personal opinion, I think there's an argument to be made that Hidden Fates, because of its popularity, that as more and more of it gets opened up, then you're going to see it outpace a lot of these cards. And this will be something that's very interesting. I'd like to see this channel grow, within the next couple of years. And so I would love to see in the next 3, 4, 5 years, if this is a true statement in fact. Because when you look at it from like an overall scale, or more specifically a chart, obviously if you say, like, here's a perfect example. Let's say that we have 1,000 apples, right? And these 1,000 apples are going for around $1, right? And you have about 100 bananas, right? And these bananas are going for around, let's say, $10, because and this is just trying to make it a really easy example for people to understand, right? There's about a 10-to-1 ratio from bananas to apples, right? Now let's say that people like to eat bananas. They don't want to keep these bananas in their collection. This is, of course, please understand, this is an analogy, but let's say that people consume about 10 bananas a year, right? And of course, obviously in collections, it's not the exact same thing, but you understand the point that I'm going with this. Now, let's say to ourselves that these apples, people love apples. Even though there's more apples, they're cheaper. People like apples because apples are so much more delicious. This is not an actual opinion. I love bananas. But they think they're so much more delicious than bananas. And there are 200 apples that are being consumed each and every year. Well, at that current rate, if you look at the overall 1-to-1 ratio, and you can even say, 150 apples, regardless of the situation, if there are more of those apples being consumed and outpacing from a percentage perspective compared to the bananas, then you're going to see naturally over time an overall increase in speed up of the value of these, apples outpacing the banana from a percentage perspective. It's kind of how when you see, and maybe this is a bad example, but it's kind of like how you see a lot of, I'm not even going to use that example. I'm going to skip that. That's not a good example. But anyway, but you guys hopefully understand the point that I'm making with this. With more increased demand, if there is a large supply, as long as the demand is going to outpace the supply in the grand scheme of things, it is something that is going to continue to grow the overall value. Because here's the deal, guys. If you have a set demand for the overall value of the Elite Trainer boxes for Hidden Fates, and the supply just continues to go down as more of it gets opened up, well, the demand is only going to grow from there because it's already super popular. Versus you have another set that's very scarce, and it has a very limited amount of set, and it has a good demand, but not nearly as high. Sure, of course, since it already started ahead of the race, you're going to say to yourself, well, of course, it's going to naturally be more valuable at the very beginning of, this, hypothetical race. But over time, once again, because there are less people interested in opening this product, buying this product, the demand for that naturally is going to decline, or the overall kind of sharpness and its overall increase is not going to be it's going to be outpaced by the value of something like a Hidden Fates Elite Trainer box. Hopefully that's something, once again, you guys really understand. This is very, it can be very complex concepts for people to really grasp. I try and do my best to break it down so that people can truly understand what I mean by this. But once again, this is really just going back and making the kind of points of the matter that just because, once again, the value of a set currently is worth more than another set doesn't mean that long term it's going to perform better, basically based on the fact of the matter that you had recent reprints. And of course, hypothetically speaking, you could see reprints within Team Up, Unbroken Bonds, and Cosmic Eclipse. At this point, I think it's unlikely, but it's still something that's possible, just based on the fact that Hidden Fates had reprints not that long ago, and that was something that a lot of people didn't expect. So I think that's something that, of course, is very important for people to understand. Now, obviously, we briefly talked about celebrations, but this is going to be kind of the final wrap up, and this is going to be for celebrations and Shining Fates more specifically. Now, with the arguments that I just made, what do you guys think I'm going to say? It's pretty obvious. I think that celebrations and Shining Fates long term are going to be not financial advice, not a financial advisor, amazing forms of investments. And the reason why I personally believe these things is, once again, going back to the main points that I made. I think that, one, they're going to be popular sets to collect because they are overall sets that have, you know, a really huge point of contention when it comes to collecting, because they are holiday sets. Two, I think they're going to be good forms of investment long term because you have an opportunity to buy a lot of them a lot cheaper than a lot of these other ones around the same time, because they've had such a high print. And so you're not only able to get it at a potential lower cost than other Elite Trainer boxes around the same era, but then you're also going to see a long-term increase of growth and demand that is going to outpace a lot of these other sets that were underprinted. So that is kind of my argument for why I think a lot of these holiday special sets are going to, of course, outperform the other ones. Now, of course, this is something that, you know, you can really break down if you really want to. You can try and compare certain sets and say, well, I don't think this is true for this set versus this set. But I would say, in my personal opinion, when you take it, you know, from a 1-to-1 ratio across the board, especially considering the fact, once again, going back and looking at it, we realistically have had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 sets that were of the special expansion, or AKA holiday sets, that had Elite Trainer boxes in them, compared to, I don't know, 20 to 30 sets that had Elite Trainer boxes. So there's so many things that you can kind of compare and you can really make arguments for, especially when you start to go farther and farther back in time. But I would say, from a 1-to-1 comparison, in my personal opinion, I think that you're going to have a lot better luck when it comes to an investment with the special holiday sets. Now, we've been going for about 26 minutes now. Time to kind of wrap up the final points and try and really get over what we talked about for today's video. So first thing we kind of talked about is we took a comparison of generations to the overall Ancient Origins Elite Trainer boxes that came out within about a 6 months from each other. We discovered the fact of the matter that the Generations Elite Trainer box performed better, even though it is a 6-month newer set than Ancient Origins. The reason behind what I personally believe is because it is a special collection set, therefore it is going to be in higher demand. And then on top of the fact of the matter, we also discovered as well that even though the value of Generations cards, both in the Radiant collection and in the standard set, are valued less in overall high pull value cards compared to Ancient Origins, we still see that that does not have an overall effect in the value of the Elite Trainer box long term. Next thing we took a look at was Hidden Fates, comparing it to other Elite Trainer boxes around that era. We said to ourselves, okay, Hidden Fates Elite Trainer boxes, although they are currently valued at around half as these other ones, prior to their overall reprints, they were about $100 to $200 more. And the reason, of course, why they are not is because they got reprinted, because these are sets that are in higher demand. With that being said, as mentioned before, I still personally believe they will outpace the overall value long term, because the demand for them naturally is going to be higher because they are special collection sets, and therefore more and more is going to be opened over time, which is going to lead to a higher rate of scarcity in the order of these specialty collection sets. Final point, of course, breaking down my personal opinion, Celebration, Shining Fates, I think are going to be really good opportunities in the market, because the fact of the matter is, using the last 2 points I made, they've already had a huge amount of reprints, so you have an opportunity to get into them cheaper than some other sets that are either overvalued or are basically not going to have as good of an overall pace in percentage growth from an investment perspective. And then 2 as well, once again, just really beating down the point that these, of course, are sets that in the next 3 to 5 years are going to outpace, because the fact of the matter is they are special collection sets. And even though, once again, Celebrations and Shining Fates cards are not, as you know, in a 1-to-1 ratio, as valuable as they were as their initial release, because they amount reprinted, this does not have an effect as we saw with the overall Ancient Origins and Generations comparison. Obviously, that was a 3-minute wrap up of the video, but this was a lot to really pack in, and I think it's really important that I kind of try and do my best to kind of explain these concepts to you, because not only from a collector's perspective, but from an investment's perspective, I think these are things that are very, very important to really understand. especially if you're someone like myself that likes to find a lot of opportunities in these markets, because it can be really confusing when you take a look at some of the prices and say, wow, why is this one valued more than this one, even though this one seems to have more demand. Once again, it really just builds on the concepts of the ideas that we talk about in regards to supply, demand, you know, overall general scarcity of overall product, as well as, you know, reprints, and how these all play factors into the value of these items. Now, that is all I have for today's video. As always, we are doing weekly giveaways. All you have to do to enter is be subscribed, leave a like, comment down below. We have 3 winners each and every week. Each winner gets 6 Fusion Strike booster packs. All you have to do, you just leave a comment on our videos Monday, Wednesday, Friday, allowing you for up to 3 entries, as you can enter, you know, a comment for each one of those videos. So really easy to win. We've had multiple people win, you know, multiple times. So it never hurts just to leave a comment, whether you want to ask me a question because you really, you know, needed help understanding this concept, because I'm sorry I haven't really been engaging recently with comments. I'm going to try and get back to catching up on that, because I love responding to you guys, but I really haven't had the time recently. So I apologize for that. But yeah, feel free to leave a comment. And if you have any questions, please let me know. With that being said, that is all I have for today's video. Thank you guys all so much for watching. Until then, I will see you guys on Wednesday. Peace.